Come to Uncle Moe's for family fun. It's good, 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 good.
Sounds good.
Hello and welcome to Uncle Moe's Family Feedbag, where we look through the dizzying highs, the terrifying lows, and the creamy middles of The Simpsons seasons 1 to 12 through random episode generation. I'm of course always joined by my colleague Cal, but oh no, what's this? A challenger has been approached. Please welcome, my guest, my special comrade and colleague here, Sash Steele. Sash, how the hell are you?
Hi Tyler, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm very good. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, Sash is a good friend of mine and a very, very avid Simpsons fan, which surprisingly enough, I've only questioned and heard about the past few months ago. Why was this never brought up that we're both really die-hard Simpsons fans?
I know, it's amazing. I think it was just so it was one of those facts that was just like, oh, I'm a fan of The Simpsons and I also breathe air. I never sort of thought to mention it because it was just such an obvious thing for me, but it's definitely a dialogue we should have had sooner. But hey, here we are, better late than never, I guess.
It was a real Step Brothers moment. Did we just become best friends? Yeah!
Exactly.
And the episode we're reviewing today we're now going back to Season 4, Episode 16, with Duffless, directed by Jim Reardon, written by David Stern, with the original air date being February the 18th, 1993. And the couch gag is Maggie is seated at the rest of the family, overshoot the mark, running past the edge of the film, and returning to the couch. Now, Sash, I guess for people who don't know, I guess people would want to know, how did you yourself get into The Simpsons? Because I know you're a similar age to me, so I'd want to guess it's through either BBC Two or Channel 4, one of those avenues.
I remember it most on Channel 4, yeah, sort of classic after-school viewing. It kind of just been in the sort of public consciousness for as long as I could remember, really, so I just sort of grew up with it, it was kind of that thing that was always on, and it was a cartoon, and they were yellow, and it was funny, so my parents just put the kids in front of it, and it was fine. And, sort of looking back now, I guess there's quite a lot of adult humour that went over our heads at the time. But yeah, it was just sort of always there, and I was always a big fan, so...
Alright, so you can't remember when it was on BBC Two, say, back in 2000?
Maybe, yes, but, I don't know, I don't have the exact sort of clear memory of that. It's mostly in my head as a Channel 4 thing, but, I'm sure it wasn't, there. And a Sky thing as well,
again,
actually.
I've discussed this with Cal and a couple of my other mates. A lot of people obviously remember it from Channel 4, and Channel 4 had a big campaign about it's coming, and it was, I think, 03 or 04 when they got that. But I remember back in 2000, I believe the routine was Weakest Link, Simpsons, Robot Wars, Fresh Prince.
Oh, that does ring the bell, actually, after the
yeah.
Weakest Link. There we go. Yeah. It's
I've
just
seen a
clicked in my
couple
brain.
memes of that.
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
And then there'd be a bastard and stick Wimbledon on, and you wouldn't have any of that.
Yeah. Oh, can't watch my Simpsons omnibus and put this tennis thing on. What is this? When I was 8 years old and didn't understand what Wimbledon was.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about Tim Henman. Come on. Which is awful.
Exactly.
All right. Any initial memories of this episode then? Because it's season 4. It's really in the strength of The Simpsons. It's one of the strong seasons.
Not particularly this episode, though. When I watched it again, I felt quite nostalgic, and I remembered bits, and then I'd sort of remember something and be like, oh, that's coming up. Oh yeah, that's in this episode and stuff. But I do distinctly sort of remember this era of the art style, obviously being a little bit less polished than it is these days. It looks kind of similar to the art style on the Simpsons Sing the Blues CD cover, which I played religiously back in the day.
Yeah. Very sort of season 1, season 2 look to it.
Yeah, that same kind of old sort of style. So yeah, I like the aesthetic of this episode. I enjoyed watching it.
Well, it opens up with Homer wanting to go to the Duff Brewery, trying to skive off work again, as he typically does. Again, one of the ongoing running jokes between Homer and his brain here. I can never think of a real bad Homer and his brain sort of dialogue ever.
This is one of my favourite running jokes in the whole series, actually. I was going to mention this. It's just so funny every time. Every time it happens, I'm like, oh, it's Homer in his brain again, having a bit of banter. Love it.
But that's the thing, it's never in a positive way. It always seems to be like his brain even catches him out, even though it's his own cognitive thought.
It's so stupid. His brain is smarter than him. But you get that nice little sort of callback later on when Lisa has her own sort of daydreamy, not quite in the same vein, but she has her own sort of daydream and her brain runs away with her, and it just kind of is a nice way to show that actually, yeah, these are Homer's kids, you know, they're just as goofy as him in ways, which is quite nice.
Yeah, it's all in the genes.
Exactly.
Homer ends up going to the Duff Brewery with Barney, of course, who else? And yeah, I'd probably say out of this whole episode, this is maybe my favourite segment. Just the whole tour around the Duff Brewery.
What does the future hold for Duff? Let's just say we've got a few ideas up our sleeve.
Like what?
I'd rather not get into it right now.
Why not?
All right. We don't have any ideas for the future. We got nothing. Happy?
No.
It's just so sort of run-of-the-mill beer tour, but obviously Homer's just the most excited person in the world about it, which is great. And also, I really like the gummy, the gummy beers. It's just such a silly little pun, but it's great.
I didn't even think of that as a pun. Oh, of course it is. Bears.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, yeah. I've only just got that. See? Oh,
spot a pun from a mile off me.
But yeah, like you say, it's all very corporate. I was actually, well, not myself, but me and my family went to Florida many, many years ago, and they went on the Anheuser sort of bush tour around Busch Gardens, and it is free to drink and everything. And apart from obviously like gummy beers, of course, but like they've had everything. They had like, you know, diet-free Busch. They had Busch Light, Busch Extra Dark, you name it. And my dad had a whale of a time.
Yeah.
My mum not so much because she's like obviously more of a wine drinker, but my dad was just getting his value out of the entry ticket.
It's very stereotypically a sort of man of that era, of that kind of age and demographic sort of place, isn't it? You know, not to generalise too much, but
it's just all sorts great, especially the tour hand as well, and the fact he has to come clean with saying, you know, batch has been laced with strychnine, and no one really cares.
Welcome to the Duff Brewery. Now, I'm sure all of you have heard the rumors that a batch of Duff was contaminated with strychnine.
Strychnine? Right.
Well, that's news to me.
Are you sure? Well, everyone's talking about it. It was even on CNN last night.
CNN?
No, I didn't see that.
Well, it's not true. Let's go.
Even though it was on CNN last night.
CNN.
Oh, also, I will say also Barney, he's probably my MVP for this episode. I think it's just the noises he makes, because when he mentions like CNN, he's very much like CNN. Oh, whoa! It's just these little odd belching noises and little odd hiccups here and there.
Classic
It's just fantastic
Barney.
from him.
Classic Barney Gumble, really. Yeah.
Who would you say is your MVP for this episode, Sash?
I don't know, actually. I think a shout out to the little hamster that is obviously such a big catalyst for so much of the plot, because it's really damn cute. Did it get a name? I can't remember. It's a very cute little hamster.
I think it is just hamster. I've checked on the Simpsons wiki as far as I'm aware, it's just the hamster.
You know,
Lisa's test hamster. No, J.D. McGregor.
Oh, really? Oh,
because it writes mysteries.
Oh, I remember now, of course. So yeah, there's my MVP. Also, Selma for that scene where she stuffs her whole head in her Tupperware.
I forgot about that one. Oh, yeah. Yeah, when he's trying to keep sober and this is the Lady Remington wear. Oh, wow. Yeah, that is such a... Well, I suppose we can start a bit of sort of analysing sketches now. How do you make such that sort of squish, sort of puerile look for a face then? Like, how do you encase a face onto like a surface? How do you sort of sketch that out, Sash?
I guess it's about the exaggeration of everything. You know, in animation, they have those kind of junk frames where everything's sort of wildly out of proportion. It's kind of similar to that, I guess. Just sort of, I don't know, take the I mean, I guess if you really wanted a reference photo, you could totally do it yourself. Just, smush your face against a frame and sort of get someone to take a picture from the outside, and there you go. Everything just sort of goes all squidgy and weird, and because the Simpsons are already a bit all squidgy and weird, it just turns into this weird monstrosity that is Selma's face stuffed into a plastic jar, basically. But yeah, I think that's one of the nicest, the best sort of visually comedic moments of the whole episode. Really, it's just like, yeah, this is ridiculous, but hey.
Yeah. And whilst Barney and Homer are living it up at the Duff Brewery tour, Lisa's well, that was it. Her initial plan for the science fair project was this very large tomato, hoping to wipe out world hunger.
Yeah.
Simpsons protected GMO foods. Who would have thought?
Oh well, they've done it. They've done it all. So
Bart realizes he can have a little prank with her large tomato with Skinner. Over, under, in and out. That's what shooting's all about.
the instant that scene is about to happen, you know exactly what's going to happen. Like,
oh yeah, well, it's the slow build up. It's very Kubrick-esque because it's very slow. The very sort of ominous music.
Yeah.
And then the sort of blood metaphor as well. I feel like we're just going to keep talking about sort of sketches, but how do you draw Skinner that thick with two C's? Because Skinner's got back there.
He really does. I feel like the animators really kind of went with a bit of poetic license there, to be honest. They sort of were like, let's show him in the best light we possibly can. Let's be a little bit generous with the pencils, as it were. But yeah, he's looking thick in that frame, as you say. And I can't believe I've said those words about this particular fictional character, so I'll be going scrubbing out my brain with bleach at the end of this episode. But hey, here we are.
Yeah, I'm glad Tumblr got rid of all that porn search, so I don't want to know how many sort of Skinner gifs there are now.
Oh,
just
no.
from that.
Too many, I can tell you that much.
But yeah, Bart implodes a tomato all over Skinner. You can see him trembling like it's a horrible Vietnam flashback as well. Another nice little detail there.
Yeah.
Her science fair project's now ruined, and it's in 3 days, so what's she's going to do? Well, Marge actually comes up with a cracking idea. Why don't you test on a little hamster or a little rat? And she thinks so, and to get vengeful at Bart and to, have punishment on him, she decides, is my brother dumber than a hamster? Again, I find it a very complete episode because this whole trial of events, this hamster versus human debacle, there's a lot of fun scenes here. And did you notice sort of the big main reference throughout? The big film reference?
I'm not super up on my films, so no, but go on. I know there's I think there's a Clockwork Orange reference in there. There's like one frame where Bart reaches up to like grab some cupcakes or something. So
that's exactly the one.
Is that the one? Oh, there we go. So
yes.
yeah, I got it. Like only because I am actually quite a big fan of that film, but like usually I'm really not on my game at all. Anyway, yeah.
After Alex has gone through the whole watching sort of Dogs of War footage and horribleness and that, and he tries to get tempted with that naked woman. And he's about to fondle the breasts, and he just collapses on the floor, much like Bart did here.
Yeah.
Yeah, lovely shot-for-shot remake there.
Yeah, they're pretty clever with their references. It's always kind of nice, especially they've got a lot of rewatch value, these episodes, because you can just go back, like, years later after you finally watch that movie or whatever, and it's like, oh, that's what that is. That looks familiar. So, yeah, it's quite neat. I like those shout-outs.
Oh, while we move away from the Duff Brewery, I'll just mention one last bit. When they go to drive home, I forgot Homer gets really Tony Soprano here.
Barney, give me your keys. You're too drunk to drive. I'm fine. Okay? You leave me no option. Ow! What was that for? I'm trying to knock you out. Ow! Cut it out! Ow! 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 All right, here, take the keys.
With the little, are you talking about the little musical number at the end?
I mean, when he's about to leave the car park and he's saying, Barney, give me the keys, you're too drunk to drive. And he starts wailing on him, introduces a crowbar, everything, starts sticking his head in the door and slamming it shut.
And Barney's just completely unfazed by this, which is hilarious. That scene. All right, take the keys or whatever. But that's so funny because it's just... Yep, sure, crowbar, nothing, so on and so forth.
Again, this is HBO violence, but I think if Barney wasn't making that noise, it'd be a lot more brutal.
Yeah, for sure. But, the Simpsons have always extolled the virtues of cartoon violence, and they're pretty pro it by now, so...
Homer unfortunately gets caught. Well, in fact, he nearly gets away from it with the oldest of old school drink driving tests, A, B,
Yeah,
C, D, E, F, D, and hopping as well.
yeah, he does a pretty good job, to be honest.
Well, he's flawless, according to Eddie. But he would have also accepted, tell me what you think of me. He would have got away with it, but Barney, what a snitch. He just says, give him the breathalyzer, and they just take, and that's it. 30-day suspension, horrible.
Which just goes to show citizens of Springfield are assholes a lot of the time. But yeah, classic Simpson stupidity, I guess.
Well, that's the ongoing thing, isn't it? It's the mob mentality of Springfield.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not going to be easily swayed by science or fact. It's just what they know.
Yeah.
So Homer has to be sober for 30 days through a licensed court. And this is where we start. Again, there are many more litmus jokes, as well as the little B story of is my brother dumber than a hamster here. And I think they pay off well with each other, if I'm honest. Because whenever Bart doesn't succeed in getting a cupcake, you see Homer dipping the beer down, or him going to work whilst Bart's trying to, find Lisa's hamster. I think they're really melded in the stories well here.
Yeah, they do. They're quite nice contrasts, like you say, the ups and downs sort of match together quite well.
Yeah, Homer's having to pour away all his beer there. And this was another little reference. I didn't know this was a reference to Frank Sinatra. I thought it was just, again, when you watch it very young, you just think it's an original Simpsons song with a nice little mention to Queen here.
Yeah, no, every day's a school day. I didn't know that either. But I do like that flashback with his very obviously fake ID. What's his name again? Brian McGee or something?
Brian McGee, yeah, with long hair.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose since it's the main subject of this episode, what's your views on alcohol in general, Sash? Do we now, obviously in the UK, I don't know whoever's listening to this, but in the UK we do have this sort of binge drinking culture. It's a lot more easily accessible. It's more open than the US is as far as like younger people drinking. But what are your thoughts on booze? How do you approach booze yourself day to day life?
Well, I was thinking about this because kind of when I sat down to watch this, I know you sent me the little clip of the Richard Nixon thing, and I couldn't remember anything about the episode until I started watching, and I was like, oh, I'm expecting just a light-hearted Simpsons one, and kind of by the time I got to the end, I was like, that was actually pretty dark in a lot of ways. It ends on quite an optimistic note, but then you think about the status quo that is, enforced by The Simpsons being comedy sitcom in a world that never changes. He's going to be back on the bottle again within an episode, and it's going to be funny or annoying for Marge or whatever. So it was kind of just like, oh, actually this is kind of a little bit sad if you think about it too much. So from that perspective, I was like, oh, I was not expecting this turn that my analysis has taken, but I think if this kind of was tried to, I think if this was written today, it would probably be come under more scrutiny, I guess, sort of, oh, we're kind of making a joke out of alcoholism or whatever, but it's a product of its time, I guess. I don't really drink so much anymore, so not any big relatable feels when Homer's pouring his, drink down the sink or whatever. Just kind of like, oh, surprisingly deep reflections on the merits of sobriety from the Simpsons crew.
Or he's either hiding it around the house as well and pretending he's a macho man.
Yeah, like super...
Again, Jim Reardon doing lovely little flourishes here throughout with these animations of the hamster getting shocked, Homer as this muscular version of himself, dancing the can-can with his pecs. It's great.
Yeah, there's some ridiculous stuff. Yeah, and then obviously we see the effect that excessive drinking has on Hans Moleman at the tender age of 31.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot. He was, again, it's just these little key characters and these little flourishes in this episode. There's quite a lot of memorable lines in here. Homer's having to go to these AA, Alkanon meetings and that with Reverend Lovejoy. He gets more and more judgmental, even though Homer starts progressing, I mean, the very last interaction they have is him saying, there's no shame here and that. Well, I ate the grass under the bleachers to, have more alcoholic intake, and I cast thee out. It's horrible.
That's a pretty low blow. That's a pretty low way to sink for Homer, to be fair. But also, yeah, just took a typical case of the Simpsons cast just being arseholes because, that's what the script dictates and that's what makes it funny. Just going to say he's the ultimate hypocritical, priest, but also highly sort of cynical, judgmental kind of guy, isn't he? So, but yeah, man, Homer eating dirt under the bleachers to soak up the taste of alcohol is really not a good look, buddy.
But in the meantime, Bart has managed to find his sister's secret project. Despite all of his own stupidity, is able to find when people are laughing at him, when people are sort of conniving behind his back and that. And again, nice little flourishes here from Jim Reardon. Lisa's in a very Bond villain sort of get-up. Well, not even get-up, but in a Bond villain position with the little hamster.
Oh, is this the, I've discovered your project, but you must discover a series of traps. Found it! Oh, damn it. Moment.
Yeah, that's it.
So funny. I like the whole back and forth between Bart and Lisa this episode. Like, it starts out with her winding him up, and then, him doing something, and she gets back at him, and it's just classic sibling rivalry, really. Yeah, I kind of...
Now, you have siblings yourself, Sash. Did you ever get into any sort of big dramatic rivalries like Bart and Lisa did, or was it very civil?
Well, when I was growing up, it was... until my last two sisters came along, it was me, my mum, my dad, my older brother, and my baby sister. So, we were the sort of Simpsons family, and I was basically Lisa's role, and I related to Lisa a lot as well, so it works out pretty well. So she's kind of was one of my cartoon role models growing up, I guess.
So you were a middle child?
Yeah, for a time. So yeah.
So you were a middle child yourself?
I was a middle child for...
right.
And then there was for about 6 years until my second sister was born. What are maths? So I was. So I definitely relate to a lot of Lisa's woes and that frustration of just like, boisterous brother kind of stepping in and doing this stupid thing because whatever, without much thought. It's a bit like, yeah. So I kind of am always rooting for her. So I was a little bit annoyed when she kind of got her, I wouldn't say comeuppance, but that's not the word I'm going for. She kind of got caught out at the end, I guess.
She got what was coming to her, eventually.
Who are you voting for then in this episode? Are you on Bart's side?
It's sort of manipulating him, but then again, he's always the sort of aggravator between the two of them, so I'd probably say it's just... Oh, Lisa does get quite a raw end. She does. She doesn't actually win, and Bart has usurped her yet again. And I've only just realised this as well watching it back. He's wearing the exact same outfit as the Lyle Lanley, the snake oil salesman from Marge vs. the Monorail.
Oh, really?
The same sort of barber... Yeah, literally the same red barbershop-y looking thing, straw hat.
Oh, man, that's some... Is that before or after this episode?
You know what? I don't know. I will find out and I will let people know. But if it is before, then that is some great lead up into the next, arguably the best episode of season 4.
Oh man,
that's some great foreshadowing.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that Monorail musical number. One of my favourites in the whole series.
But yeah, it does get to the science fair projects and that, and you've got a good few there. You've got Nelson with very worrying BB gun type science. You've got Martin with his around the world Phileas Fogg kind of project. Oh, my favourite though is just and it's quite sad because I've seen this a lot growing up, where it's just the overly worked dad and the son. Oh, can I stand next to it? No, don't screw it up. I've worked all night for this, but it's got my name on it. Just stand over there. Over there.
No, poor kid.
I've seen that too many times. It's too sad.
Absolutely.
But Bart wins it with can hamsters fly planes, and there's not any real sort of science to it, but I will say it is very cute. I'll let you go on this then, Sash.
However, though, it does prove that Lisa's experiment is correct, because if a hamster can fly a plane, then it's smarter than Bart.
Oh, wow, yeah. Didn't even think that far ahead. So Lisa is validated. Okay, this is some sort of a happy ending for her. You're absolutely right.
Yep, she just, doesn't get the recognition, but hopefully she feels a little bit vindicated that, she has seen her experiment through to the end.
Now, how would you go about yourself drawing a hamster? Would you borrow influence from this little, I don't know what you call it, a purple mess of a thing with its little black eyes, or would you try and sort of soften it more and make it a more typical hamster colour?
I'm definitely a bit more, I don't know actually, my art style is pretty cutesy, so I'd probably go for the more exaggerated cuteness. Definitely the big sort of beady eyes is kind of my sort of go-to style for making things cute. Maybe a little bit more floofy. Maybe a little bit more Disney animation than Simpsons, if you get me.
I get you. Yes, very nice. We're now finished with the part B. We're now finished with the B story. So we're now dealing with Homer, dealing with his sobering and trying to get rid of his own alcoholism here. And they have a little scene at the baseball park and him dealing with the horrible sexist advertisement of 90s America and that. I was reading the signs for these, and one of them was just like, I'm easy and get me drunk.
I saw that. I was a bit like,
Definitely I know there's
not
a lot of
aged
articles
well,
and
has
stuff
it?
that's problematic, but obviously it's played for jokes and the fact that it is problematic.
Yeah. It's, self-aware and it's drawing attention to that, but it's still a little bit like,
I will say it's I had a lot of friends that believe the hype of those old WKD adverts and those old Lynx adverts, and I'm just thinking, you have never kissed a girl. Come on now.
No. A generation that's been lied to and deceived.
All that Lynx Africa that my aunt got me at Christmas, it doesn't work.
Yep.
Awful. Howdy, this is just a reminder that if you're enjoying the content so far, loving our podcast, loving the episode, go over to facebook.com and search for Uncle Mo's Family Feedbag, a British podcast, and give us a like there. We'll update you on all of our exclusive content and posts as well. Also, if you're in the mood for a bit more Simpsons and more Simpsons podcasts, go over and check out the 411 folks on Facebook and SoundCloud as well. They do lots of great impressions, great analysis of the episodes, and it's generally a good time. And now back with your regularly scheduled listening. Homer gradually scratching and clawing his way, he makes it to day 30, even with all sorts of temptation and, drama and worries. He does make it to day 30 painstakingly. And he wants to send the kids to the neighbours because he's coming back loaded. But Marge is giving him all these benefits, saying, you don't sweat as much, you look healthy in that, look at all this money you've saved here. But, Homer, he has to get that nectar right down him, so he races to Moe's Inn. That is another great little thing I've seen throughout this episode, the constant use of Lisa's bike that Homer has to use.
Yeah, I know, that's a nice little nod to, obviously, the fact that he's not driving at the moment.
Again, the great deceiving scene of, have a nice day at work, Homie, and, Homer's perfectly framed in the car and it pulls away and it's this grotesque man on a little bike. And the fact he's just, he's panting as he gets to Moe's.
Yeah.
Like, I do...
Commitment to the sesh, though.
he's an absolute sesh lord.
Yeah, he is.
That's it. Payday Friday, that's it. Homer begins to look at his pint there. Moe's sort of disgusted to have him back because he's holier than thou. And, the barflies have got the same reaction to everything. No, give me a beer, Mo. Everybody, Homer's back. Again, it's just the horrible realities of drinking, isn't it? Again, like I've said before, I've seen Spoon's day drinkers, and you don't want to become one of them, just a sad bunch of old men just at the edge of the bar there.
Yeah, it's like I say, it's quite miserable, really, isn't it? I was here for light-hearted, whimsical Simpsons shenanigans, and instead I get a scathing commentary on the gritty reality of alcoholism. I mean, come on, Fox or whoever produced this one, what are you doing? But
Homer realises it's best to keep on keeping on, so he leaves his pint on hold there and goes to join Marge. And again, this is a really sweet little ending, as much as counteractive as it's going to be with the nature of a sitcom. Everything gets reset. But this end is very sweet and heartwarming. And again, another little film buff reference here. They finish on the Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid song, Raindrops. Very beautiful.
Raindrops keep falling on my head.
But that doesn't mean my eyes will soon be turning red.
La 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 la. La 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 la.
Because I'm free, nothing's worrying me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a really cute scene, actually. And, Marge and Homer are one of the most iconic couples of our time, I guess. So it's nice to see that cute little romantic moment that, I don't know, I've not really been keeping up with the later seasons, but I think does tend to get a bit lost in all the ridiculousness a lot of the time. But yeah, it's a genuinely quite a heartwarming moment and a nice end to the series. And like if The Simpsons wasn't so sticking to the status quo, that could be the whole start of Homer's sobriety arc and all the rest of it. But like I say, due to, everything's staying basically the same, it's just back to normal next week. But whatever, still cute.
And that's where the episode ends. So, Sash, like I do with my regular host Cal, I'll ask you to rank this in any sort of way here. I typically go for out of 5, but however you want to do it, how do you rank and rate this episode?
Purely cause it's got some good, solid, strong jokes and some nice references, and it's from a nice era of animation. But it's probably not my favourite. It's not laugh out loud all the way through kind of thing. So I'd probably give it a solid, I'll give it a bang in the middle, 3.5 out of 7. Would watch again.
For myself, it's very strong. There's, I don't know, some general bits as well, but probably for these performances from Barney Wiggum as well, I will say, very enjoyable in this.
Yeah, great scene.
Probably say for Wiggum and Barney, and a nice little blending of the A and the B story here. I'm going to go for 4 out of 5 gummy bears myself.
Nice, good stuff.
All right, and that is going to do it today, folks. Remember, if you do see us on Facebook, it's Uncle Mo's Family Feedbag, a British Simpsons podcast. If you want to give that a like as well, and check us out on SoundCloud as well. Again, Uncle Mo's Family Feedbag here. Now, Sash, please plug away. If you want to do your Twitter or whatever, or your own business, please go ahead.
Oh yeah, that's fine. So my Twitter is HeySash. That's HeyYSash. You can also find me collaborating with Zachary Cox at Soul Muppet Publishing, which just comes up when you Google it. So, yeah, those are my 2 things that are probably worthy of note.
I will say, Sash is no jokes, folk. If you wanted to have commissioned art or whatever to bring her on your project, please do. I did a horribly selfish piece here for a late birthday present, and she knows what she's doing. She's able to get my fine angles. She can really bring out the personality of your own individual into a digital platform. It's fantastic. Hey folks, completely forgot that I had to do the old random episode generation for the next episode, so let's give that a little whirl now. Okay, and we're jumping way back to Season 1 with Homer's Odyssey. Alright, and we will see you next time. Take care, folks.
Bye.
Come to Uncle Mo's for family fun. It's good.
Sounds good.